So we're here with the Bloomfield High School 1971 state championship team. And if you can all introduce yourselves.
Bob Hackle.
My name is Felix Flores.
Bob Federley.
All right, the boys. How's it
Okay.
feel to be back in Bloomfield after all these years?
And it really feels great. I mean, this just coming here brings back the memories from back in the day. Coach Sellers was a tremendous coach, not just a coach, but also a mentor. And I just want to thank, he's not alive, I still thank him for giving me the skills that I needed to move ahead in life and whatever I get involved in, be the best at it and be successful. So I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, one always fascinates me about a championship team. I got to ask this question: what is the moment, or what moment do you keep replaying in your mind for that last championship game? I'm sure you do. I'm sure you always run it through your
Do you
head.
want me to address? I mean, I have my other
Go ahead,
teammates here.
go ahead, Felix.
got the boys
We'll
here,
jump
you know.
in. We'll jump in. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I'll be honest with you. It was a tremendous feeling. I mean, for the first time, I was involved in a state championship game. We had so many people. Not only that, me and Rick were just talking about it before, that we were, one of the first high school championship teams that actually played in Princeton Jadwin Gym. And that was a whole
Right.
world of an
We were.
experience.
Yeah,
Remember that,
Well,
Robert?
the championship games have been played at the Atlantic City Convention Center.
Right.
But unfortunately, due to unrest, violence, and things of that sort, they felt there were too many people in one place, and they couldn't control, the environment. And Group 4 game was moved to Princeton in 1971. So there were less fans. There weren't all the games at one venue. They were spread out. And that was part of the unfortunate circumstances that were going on at the time.
And we played Ewing from South
Right.
Jersey.
Right.
The biggest memory I have is actually the game before that, when we had a riot during the basketball game.
Right.
Yes. The game was ended with us in the lead by, I think, 3 or 4 points, 5 points.
Yeah, 5,
And
something like that. Yeah.
they evacuated the gym after the floor was covered with people. It broke out into a major fight
Right.
and
Yeah.
a riot in the gymnasium. And that's why there was changes in security when we went in and played in the championship.
Yeah, that was some experience because I can recall, once the game was almost over because Paul Ape was pretty much running out the clock. He was dribbling all over the place, and I can remember the Passaic, their star, his name was Ken Slappy, and being that we were ahead and it looks like we were actually running out the clock for the win, he got really upset, and that's when it started. And all of a sudden, he just went to throw a punch at Paul Ape, and all of a sudden the crowds just emptied out, and it was almost like a free-for-all, and we just were told to shoot right out back to the locker room, and on my way over, Robert Hackle was right in front of me, and all of a sudden I just see this fist come out of nowhere, and it missed me and it hit him. So that's the joke, he took a hit from me. He took a hit from me in the state championship game. So it was just an awe of an experience to go through that, and to think that I'm back in high school, it's just it's chilling.
You still feel that hit 53 years later? You still feel it?
So, this is a great Bloomfield High School alumni connection story, okay? So I had my front tooth knocked out, which I didn't even realize happened, and then I had a cut on my lip. And I went into the locker room, and apparently what happened is they called for, is there a doctor in the house? And meanwhile, out on the floor, this happened at Hackensack High School. The Bergen County Police were trying to get the crowd under control, which was 3,000 plus fans, and it was apparently pretty ugly. And coming forward into the locker room was a dentist who was a graduate of Bloomfield High School who was at the game, and a surgeon, also a graduate of Bloomfield High School. And rather than taking me to a hospital, they took me to their offices. Each had an office in Livingston. So they took me, along with Neil Davis, our team manager. Unfortunately, my mother was sick, and my parents didn't come to the game. So Neil came with me, and they replanted my tooth. And the surgeon said, you'd probably need about 3 stitches, but I'm going to give you 20 so that you'll never have a scar. And the tooth lasted about 5 years. But the headline in the independent press the next time it came out was, Bob Hackle finished his career with 20 stitches. And so that was, the reporter who wrote that was none other than Bob Lee.
Well,
So-
the interesting thing was
Right.
when the skirmish broke out on the court,
Right.
it kind of settled down and we were walking back to the bench, and Slappy's sister came out of the stands
Oh, yeah, I
and
forgot
cold
about that.
cocked one of
Right.
our ball players,
Right.
and he went backwards into the,
Right.
and that's when the fight broke out. But
Okay.
she was the sister of the guy that was in the skirmish out on the court. And she came out and she nailed one of our players, and
Right,
I think
yeah.
it was Binkowitz, the younger
Yeah,
Binkowitz.
yeah. Bruce Binkowitz.
Yeah.
It was Bruce
And then,
Binky.
as we were
Yeah.
trying to get off the court, somebody
Right.
grabbed my left shoulder, and I turned with a fist, and it was a state trooper with a nightstick, and he said, "You got to get off the court. You stand out like a sore thumb." And I said, "Okay." And I went over. George Sella had been surrounded by some fans from the other team, and I stepped in to help him. And we eventually got a state trooper in there to escort the 3 of us off the court.
Well, these are the stories I want to hear.
Yeah.
I mean,
It was just a wonderful experience.
I mean, forget about the basketball. I want to hear more about the fights. This is all the good stuff.
Well, and what was interesting is in the warm-ups, as we were warming up, the comments that the other team was making to us were just unacceptable.
Right.
And they were really nasty, not appropriate.
Thought they would intimidate us.
And their intent was to intimidate us, and 2 of our players were intimidated. I just kept saying to them, just ignore them. You'll get under their skin if you just ignore them, and just stay focused on what we need to do, and ignore them, because the lines were crossing as we were warming up, and it was ugly right from the beginning.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting because what I recall, somehow, when you really get involved in the game, you kind of weed out the noise.
Yeah.
You don't really hear the crowd. I don't know if you guys, but when I play, I was so focused that I didn't even hear the crowd. Maybe after a shot, if somebody makes a basket or something like that, you would hear something. But it was
Well, you
just,
didn't listen to us either.
During
Hey, they
during
didn't call me the super sophomore for
well,
nothing,
yeah,
okay?
exactly.
Okay.
during the final game, one of the things that I remember was they had a fellow on the Ewing team, Sylvester Kyler, and I remember throwing up the first shot I took and watching his sneakers go past my eyes and the ball going into the stands. I never saw somebody could jump that high in high school.
They have any
but-
video on these games?
Well, in fact, I was
Yeah,
just asking.
Bob does. Bob Federley does.
Yes, which we're going to get a copy of that CD. We hope.
Yeah, I want to see it too.
But anyway, what I want to say is that I think that pretty much, although we went through that experience, it kind of lifted us a little bit. What I mean is that we were approaching the finals. We were going to the finals. We were underdogs almost throughout the whole tournament, right, guys?
Yeah,
Nobody
oh, yeah,
really had
yeah,
the faith
right.
in our team. But we knew, and George Sella saw in us, that we can go out there and win. And it brings me to the championship game, and I will never forget this. I remember, when we first started, things were going back and forth, and then they started to get a substantial lead. And by the time the half was over, they were up by, I think it was 10 points or something like that.
They were up 9 at halftime.
Nine at halftime.
And
And
then-
and then the beauty behind a good coach is that when we went into that locker room, he pretty much had given us such a pep talk to let us know, hey, listen, guys, you're not out of this. You guys can win the game. All you got to do is focus more, less turnovers, and just stick to the plan. And he had it. He just had that. He had that energy that went right through you, and it just like kind of picked you up a little bit. And we went out there and we did the job. We came back.
But
and
remember what Sella did, okay? We were down 9 at halftime, okay? And then at halftime, he said, we're going to change our defense, okay? And we went to a match-up 2-3 zone, which confused the heck out of Ewing. They didn't know what we were doing. And then we outscored them by 18 points in the second half and won by 9. And so much of that was the coaching change that Stella made in how we were playing defense.
What was your final record for that year?
25-5.
25-5. That's a lot of games for a high
Yeah,
school team.
Yeah.
right. Yeah, that was a lot of games.
See, when we didn't win the county tournament,
We
everybody
lost in the
kinda-
finals.
Everybody
Yeah.
wrote us off.
Right.
We lost to Southside, if I remember right.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody wrote us off.
Yeah, but don't forget, we beat East Orange, and East
Yeah.
Orange was the favorite.
Right. But then what also happened is in, I think, the third game in the state tournament, we played Linden, who was ranked 1 in the state, okay? And we beat Linden by 19 points. And they were ranked 1 in the state. And that was like a major impetus for us to say, hey, we can win, okay? And I think that gave us a degree of confidence as well, especially since, we weren't that big, okay? I mean, I was the second biggest guy, and Pat Sibilia was 6'5.5" maybe, and he was maybe 220 pounds. And we're playing guys.
Only 3 of us were over 6 foot, if you
Yeah,
look
right.
at the
Yeah,
picture up there.
yeah, right, right. And we were playing teams, 6'9", 6'7". Southside had a kid 6'10". Linden had a 6'7", 6'9", 6'6".
How about East Orange? Wayne Groves. You know Wayne
Wayne
Groves?
Oh yeah,
Man, he
yeah.
was- I actually had to play him in the East Orange tournament when
Okay.
Pat Sibilia fouled out.
Right, yeah.
When,
yeah,
and
yeah.
Pat and Coach Seller said to me, Felix, you were going to go and guard him, and I was
Right,
kind
yeah.
of surprised, but you
But
know
yeah.
what? He gave me the confidence, and I went there and did the
Right,
job,
right.
and we won the
Yeah,
game.
and you were
Yeah.
wonderfully aggressive against that too,
Yeah,
and weren't
yeah.
intimidated.
Yep.
That was really
Yep,
good.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to have you guys relive this all here. This is
Oh yeah, it was great getting my tooth knocked out and
Yeah.
getting 20 stitches.
I mean,
Special.
this,
Yeah.
this is the first real podcast. This is a good one.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's 53 years ago.
53.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
it's a long
And
time.
it's just amazing how vivid we can remember certain things. About that. So.
Okay. Well, I'm going to wrap it
Okay.
up here. It was good to have you guys on the first podcast. I'm going to hear a little music and bring it up. And for the 1971 Bloomfield Bengals state championship team, great to have you guys here. Stay out of fights. No more fights with you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
All
thank
right,
you. Thank you
guys.
very much.
All right.
Thank you.